Hello, families and friends around the world. This is Pat John-Oseh, and today on the Message of Hope with Pat, I have a special guest, an amazing personality, Nnamdi Okpara Darlington. He is from Abia State, Nigeria, an entrepreneur and a political analyst. He is currently a final year student at the University of Abuja, where he is studying political science. Nnamdi will today be sharing with us an amazing story as an orphan child and, of course, his foster home. Thank you, Nnamdi, for coming on MHP. Over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Pat. At the age of 6, I lost my dad. I only happened to have met him once because he passed away 2 months after I had seen him. 2 months after I had seen him, I was little. So he passed away, and then she told me, your dad, we traveled to the burial, and I took part in the whole burial because I was the only son he had. Up to now, I can't recognize his face. I don't know how he looks like. Then a year later, I lost my mom. When my mom passed, I wasn't aware. I was only told a year later. That, oh, my mom had passed, and it all happened that I needed my mom. I needed to call. I needed to ask some questions. Because then, pertaining to my dad, because then the only thing I knew about my dad was just his name, because it was boldly written on the birth certificate. So and they were like, okay, if you want to see your mom, we have to travel. It was close to December period, so we had to travel. And then when we got, and they showed me, that is your mom. Your mom died a year ago, and that was it. There was even a battle because they said my mom's last wish was she should not, my stepsister should not release me to my father's people. So growing up, there was this constant, we need our son, and there was this constant battle up to when I relocated to Abuja. But before I lost my mom, she was more like a visitor in my life because I wasn't staying with her. I was staying with her elder sister, so she just comes and she visits because she travels a lot. So I never got any time to spend with any of my parents, and that left a very big hole in me. And I'm one, right from when I was little, I don't like pity. So I kept the story to myself. Along the line, I grew up with my mom's step-elder sister. She already had 6 kids already. So I was more like an extra mouth to feed. But she told me that was the last wish of my mom. So we had to go by it. Along the line, things were not so rosy. I started selling bread from when I was in primary school, and selling bread took me from primary school right until when I finished my secondary school. All other kids had finished school, all other kids at the house, all our children had finished school. So there was no reason for her to continue selling bread. But because I was still in school, I was more like the last born, age-wise. So because of me, she had to continue selling bread, and every Sunday would sell bread. Friday, whenever it's church period, we do sell bread. And that was how it just so happened, and as God would have it, eventually we stopped selling bread. Growing up, I had this hole in me, and in order to fill that hole, I started moving around with certain group of people who I'm not supposed to move around with. And moving around with them, I started realizing certain things about myself, and fortunately, I met someone. And I happened to tell that person my story, and the person sat me down, the person advised me, said, your story is different from these people's story. You have a story to tell. Everyone has a story to tell. But if you allow yourself to continue going down this line, you would have no story to tell. And so I retraced my step. During those times I was moving around with those guys, I actually failed my first WAEC. And then my foster mom, which was my mom's stepsister, she wasn't around. She called me and she told me something. She said, I have tried my best and you decided to disappoint me. And then I had to retrace my step back. I wrote my second WAEC. I got everything, and then it was time for admission So instead of moving around with those guys around the area, I decided to involve myself. I had to work at a pure water factory. I had to work at a Maggi manufacturing factory, so many other factories, even rubber producing factories, just to gain experience. And as God would have it, I relocated to Abuja. Eventually, I started working at a supermarket, a store, where I decided to learn how to trade. Eventually, I got my admission, University of Abuja. The store I worked was owned by a husband and wife, Mr. and Mrs. Chris. And they were like parents to me. Even when I got admission into the university, I wasn't working with them, they were still crediting me. If I had an issue and I called them, immediately, they would respond swiftly, even till now. And that kind of motivated me, because I don't like disappointment. After disappointment I gave to my stepmom, I don't like disappointing people. So I actually had to just pull my head down and make sure whatever it is I'm doing, I am 100% focused, so as not to disappoint those who are looking up to me, you must come out something. That must be after I might have told them my story. When these things were happening, people do complain that I don't smile. Even till now, I find it hard to smile. For me to smile, it must be extremely funny. So even to cameras, I don't smile. But they don't know that those things that happen, losing my parents, going through so much emotional, in fact, this one wants you, the other set wants you, going through those things took away the smile in me. So I find it hard to smile. I hate being alone without doing anything, because whenever I sit, my mind still goes back to those things. My message of hope to them is they should not allow what they've gone through in the past prevent them from breaking through in future.
Thank you very much, Nnamdi, for sharing your story with MHP team today. And I must say well done to your step auntie and Mr. and Mrs. Chris. I really took note of what you said about them, positive stories about them, and I must say, God bless them. But before I wrap this up, I want you to give a big smile to MHP team. We want to make you smile today. So, thank you, at least we won. Thank you very much. Your story is amazing, and you must have inspired millions of people around the world. Thank you all, and stay safe.